Hello and welcome everyone. This is your astrology forecast for full moon in Sagittarius, and this one is happening on the 11th of June. And it's happening in a very interesting period of time. It's the ruler of this full moon is Jupiter, and Jupiter entered Cancer just 2 or 3 days prior to this full moon on the 8th of June. And Jupiter has been in Gemini during the last year. Jupiter stays in one sign one whole year, and right around the time when there's a full moon in Sagittarius, the ruling planet changes signs and goes into Cancer, where Jupiter feels very good. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. And what's interesting is that the moon is in the sign of Jupiter and the Jupiter is in the sign of moon. And this is very strong, very important, very powerful for gaining emotional wisdom through expanding our mind. And it's challenging, of course. There's a lot going on. And we have Mars squaring Uranus and Mercury conjunct Jupiter in Cancer, early degrees of Cancer. So emotional reactions and overreactions are highly possible, and we may have a need to prove our point, to impose our will onto others, and to try to make everyone see our side of the story. But this full moon means that the sun is in Gemini, which is opposite from Sagittarius, and we just experienced the transition of Jupiter from Gemini into Sagittarius. So with Gemini, there are always two sides of the story, and the truth can be tricky, and the truth has many angles. So we may not be able really to prove something, and we may struggle a lot to prove something, to prove our point, to make everyone see our side of the story. But this is what emotional immaturity is about, and we are being initiated into something different, into emotional maturity. Jupiter in Cancer can really expand our emotions, and Jupiter expands everything it touches. So we may be overly emotional and overly protective and self-protective. We may feel attacked. We may feel like someone is really provoking us or triggering us, triggering our beliefs, our ideals, our religious views, our philosophy of life. And the information that we receive now can be thought-provoking, really. And, this is a time when, there are no wonders. We realize that there are no wonders because Jupiter and Sagittarius is about expansion of consciousness, broadening of our horizons, seeing the bigger picture, growing vertically, being on a spiritual journey and really implementing the knowledge, applying learned lessons, applying the knowledge. This is where the wisdom lies. If we are learning things, if we are just collecting information and knowledge, and we don't apply that in the real world, in our own life, in how we behave and what we do, then that knowledge is dead. It's not alive. So it's our task to make this knowledge alive and to turn it into a wisdom. And, when we understand nature, this full moon is really giving us a lot of opportunities to understand nature, to understand how nature works, to understand nature within ourselves. And when we understand nature, our fears dissolve, our fears disappear, especially fear of death and loss. So we may be faced with these things, but in all of those fears, we are finding answers. And these answers will come not through books, not through education, not from somebody else, but they come through our own direct experience. And this is adventurous energy. It's exciting and adventurous. And we are searching for freedom, but for real freedom. And the question for all of us is what freedom means for me. what does it mean for me to be free? And this is something that I mention a lot, especially when we have Sagittarius energy is strong, because Jupiter in Sagittarius, ninth house, it's all about freedom and the truth, seeking the truth, searching for higher meaning. And it's a lot about the higher self, the higher education, higher mind, higher purpose. And we are being offered this kind of wisdom and knowledge. And full moons are times of culminations, revelations, endings and completions, dramas, times when things come to a head, but also times when things come to an end or to a fruition. So we may see some old beliefs being dismantled, old narratives, old ways of perceiving life. They need to disappear. They need to dissolve. They are not relatable anymore. They are not valid anymore, and they are not compatible with who we are and where we're going in this realm. And this is vertical growth, as I said. And the Gemini, which is opposite sign, offers horizontal growth. So we have the horizontal and vertical, and this creates the cross. And we are implementing in ourselves both ways of growing, horizontal and vertical. This means material and spiritual, even though they are not separated, but we have this experience living in this realm and in this body. So we have to integrate both, just as we have two hemispheres of the brain. And Gemini rules both hemispheres of the brain. And Sagittarius is about really encompassing this knowledge and turning it into something alive. And Sagittarius is about being able to understand this life from a higher perspective, not to see things so narrow-minded, but to expand ourselves and not only to see the bigger picture, but to see the interconnectedness of it all. And horizontal and vertical lines, they put us in the center. And, this cross becomes the rose in bloom. So we are all initiated into this kind of blooming now, if we are able to grow emotionally. But our emotional attachments may be holding us back strongly. And, our birth from mother's womb is actually only a microscopic replay of what happens on a cosmical level. And we may be experiencing now this kind of birth, and we may see it in nature, we may see it all around us and within us. And we are birthing some new kind of knowledge, some mind-blowing truth. And this can happen globally, of course, and individually. Some mind-blowing information, some big news, big truth that changes our perspectives. And Jupiter in Cancer really calls us to take care of ourselves, to take care of our emotional health, and to understand where emotional attachments come from and how they shape our relationships, our patterns, and our mental processes as well. And we may feel stuck in our emotional loops, and we may see how toxic our emotional body is. So this is a time for really detoxing our emotional body and allowing ourselves to think differently, allowing ourselves to change our perspectives and to listen, to hear someone that we usually don't want to hear, to hear the side of the story that we don't want to hear, to be a little bit more flexible emotionally and mentally, to be able to accept other people's perspectives too, because this is how we grow. If we only think that we are right, that our side of the story is the only true and real story, then we will continuously be stuck in our repetitive, toxic, emotional and mental loops. And this is about truth and lies a lot. And I spoke about lies in previous video where we had new moon in Gemini. And we've been faced with some lies. And now these lies are going to give us some answers. And we may not be able to discern between truth and lies if we are ending up in over-analyzing, intellectualizing, over-explaining, getting anxious about what ifs and whys. This is time to really let go of all those analyzings and, you know, mental and thought processes that make these things meaningless. You know, when we go into these processes where we cut everything, we are doing like a mental surgery. We won't get anywhere. And this is not how we reach the truth. So it's very important to reconnect with our inner guide. This is Sagittarius and Jupiter. Jupiter is known as Guru. And this is the place within ourselves where Guru sits and waits for us to recognize him or her or whatever we want to call it. And this is our inner higher self that is always there. But we don't have capacity to recognize it because we are too lost in our head. We are too focused on things that are happening only to us, only in our personal life. So we don't have capacity to grow bigger and to see the bigger picture. But this full moon is going to do that. It's going to expand us whether we like it or not. And what's also really important is what I mentioned, that we have Jupiter in the sign of Moon and Moon in the sign of Jupiter. And this happens only once every 12 years. So this could be related to something that was happening 12 years ago. And this sets some kind of intention and powerful story that is about to unfold in the next 12 years. And we can dream big. We are, asked to perceive life as if nothing is impossible. We have no limits. Jupiter is limitless, but we should be careful when it comes to limitless perspectives, because for some things it's not good to go into those extremes, but for some other things, yes, it is. If we know what is for us good, and we are learning what is really good for us thanks to this Jupiter in Cancer and Mercury there in Cancer, and we can expect some really important conversation, emotional conversations that have capacity to help us release emotional wounds and fears that are definitely related to our childhood, our mother issues, our fear of being abandoned, our wound of not being recognized, not being seen. And this goes way back. It's not only our childhood, it's also related to our roots and ancestors. And we also have new moon in Cancer in 2 weeks. So this is very important to really take care of ourselves and not to expect others to take care of ourselves. Not to behave in a childish way, but to be childlike, to be playful, but not in a childish way. To take responsibility for our emotional reactions and to stop blaming our parents, our childhood, our ancestors. This is also not getting us anywhere. So it's really time to take full responsibility and to see things from different perspective, to change the perspective of our childhood, to change the perspective of what those memories mean and why they are there. Past can be a very powerful resource for growth and for gaining emotional stability and security. And we will be triggered in a big way when it comes to emotional security and stability, because we may feel insecure and unstable. We may have a desperate need to be taken care of, to be offered a nice warm meal, to have someone who let's say babysits us. But as long as we have these needs, we are staying stuck in those inner child traumas, and we keep repeating same old stories in many different shapes and forms. So it's really powerful to turn towards these Jupiterian archetypes and to become truth seeker. So this truth seeker leads us towards the wisdom keeper, and we may meet some wisdom keepers during this time. They are all around us, but we don't recognize them either, just as we don't recognize our own inner teachers. But wisdom keepers, teachers, they are always around us, and we can actually recognize them in everyone we meet. It's up to us. It's our perspective. It's our reflection. And when we are aware of these things, we can really awaken those archetypes in others too, which doesn't mean that somebody else will recognize the same in the same person, because it depends on my perspective. And we see what is within ourselves. We see in others what we also have inside of us, because we wouldn't be able to recognize it otherwise. And of course, I know that this is hard for many people to digest and accept, and this is not really meant to be understood in a literal way, because it doesn't mean, for example, if we see someone who behaves in a very bad way and we comment and say, look, this person is evil and bad, this doesn't mean that we are evil and bad, but it means that we carry those potentials within us too, but we suppress them and we don't want to admit them. We don't want to admit that we own those things too, that we can also be evil and bad. But it's up to us to choose. So as long as we deny and reject these things, they will keep coming up. And this full moon is really inviting us to cross the oceans of ignorance and to dive deep, fearlessly, to dive as deep as we can and to ask big questions that awaken and trigger our darkest fears. And many of us may be faced with breaking a lot of illusions when it comes to what we know, and especially our belief systems, our learned behavior, and our belief system is very important. And Jupiter and Sagittarius in ninth house is all about belief system and what we believe in. So what we believe in, this is the kind of life that we create. We create life based on our beliefs. So again, this full moon is a reminder that we can shift these things. We can change our perspectives. It's really our choice. It's our choice. Are we choosing to see the bright side or the dark side? This doesn't mean that we deny the dark side if we choose to see the bright side. We see the dark side, but we choose to act from the bright side. Just as I said now that, we become aware that we carry the light and darkness, and we accept that darkness, but we choose to act from the place of love and light. And this doesn't mean, again, that we always have to behave in a loving and lightly way. We have to understand and realize that we have to express ourselves freely, but with a great awareness of what is our intention behind all of that, and what are our inner reactions. And many of us will be faced with our own arrogance and with limitations and blockages of intellectualizing emotions and feelings, of over-analyzing emotions and feelings. And Jupiter goes beyond that, and it can take us into extremes. So we may feel extremely emotional, and we will be emotionally charged. And with Mercury there together with Jupiter, these are big emotional conversations, important, significant conversations about our past, about our family, about our insecurities, about being vulnerable. And we definitely need to take care of ourselves to really nurture and nourish our emotional wants and needs, not to become spoiled, not to ask for others to play our mother or father, not to search for mother and father in our partners, in our friends, and in our bosses. This is really in our presidents. It's time to, you know, break free from those kinds of expectations and attachments, and to understand that we are the tree of life. I am the tree of life. You are the tree of life. Each of us is a tree of life. And when we understand this, we have to take responsibility for that tree of life. And we have to nourish it, to water it, to cultivate it. And the tree of life carries all the roots. And it can be too much for someone, but at least we can start with understanding that we are the tree of life. We are access points. We are the receivers and transmitters. We are the most advanced technology that there is. And we are really faced with feeling torn apart between illusions and the truth. And illusion may seem like truth, and truth may seem like an illusion. And as we know, maybe we don't, not all of us know, but I do mention this also often, that history is actually made up. It's an illusion. But fairy tales, folk tales, and mythologies are actually true history. So we can come back to this kind of knowledge, to primordial images and ways of transferring stories and truths through symbols, through parables, through metaphors. And Sagittarius is the higher mind and higher knowledge, esoteric and metaphysical education too, and occult teachings are also involved with this energy. And this is really understanding the language of symbols. Symbols are very powerful, and if we understand the language of symbols, we can understand the whole nature, the whole universe, and our own ways of being, what it means to be a human being, what it truly means to be a human being. Is it that hard? Is it something that we have to learn, or is it something that we already have within ourselves, but we've been feeding something else? We've been feeding our fake personalities. So this is a time to unlock this potential fully and to expand into a true human being. And, we need both. We need this vertical and horizontal growth. We need common sense and facts that will give stability to our beliefs. This is Gemini, common facts and common sense and facts and beliefs is Sagittarius. So we need Sagittarius and Gemini for the wholeness to be felt. And, this is not only lower mind and higher mind, because, Mercury and Gemini is known as the lower octave of the mind, while Jupiter and Sagittarius known as the higher mind. This is about giving birth to third force that arises from the connection of these two polarities. And this is something that we are yet to give birth to. And first, we definitely need to come into balance within ourselves, to come into balance between beliefs and common sense, between facts and between the lower mind and higher mind, between the masculine and feminine, between the left and the right side of the brain. And when we can really work in harmony, then the third force rises. And, this is a time when we shouldn't trust everything we hear either. And we should do our own research. And doubt is healthy now. Our individual structures may feel less stable during this time. So let's take care of that blind faith and fanaticism. This is also Sagittarius in the 9th house. fanaticism and blind faith. We may be faced with people who are fanatics, or we may be faced with our own fanaticism around something. It doesn't matter what is related to, but fanaticism is fanaticism, and we are going to see where we are being fanatic and where we are being blind, where we are following something blindly without really checking the facts, without really checking with our hearts. And, we have to listen to our gut feeling and our true gut feeling. And this can be felt when we are able to be at peace, to be in nature, to listen to birds singing, to listen to the wind, to listen to the breeze, to listen to the river or the waves. Listening, everything that is natural has the power to awaken our true voice. The voice that we don't hear because we have so many voices in our head. We always hear voices of somebody else, voices of our parents, voices of our teachers, voices of our authority figures, voices of our inner child, our traumas. So where is our true inner voice? It's time to slow down, to be patient, to be in nature, to allow ourselves to be distracted from the noise, because we are somehow all addicted to noise. When there is silence, people feel uncomfortable. So this is time to become comfortable with being silent. And as I said, we have our own inner healer and teacher within ourselves. There is no other outside of us. I mean, we can meet those outside of us, but they are not the ones who can give us the solution. They can only inspire us to discover that within ourselves. And these videos actually serve that purpose, to inspire all of us who are here to awaken these things within ourselves. These are not some solutions or advices. These are not some must-dos. This is maybe not even true, but it's triggering something in everyone, and it's making us question everything we know. So this full moon will also question everything we know, and it could be a very powerful time for unlearning what we've been learning and discovering many lies when it comes to things that we've been taught. And all the outside healers, teachers, and gurus are just symbols. They are information. But the real wisdom, the real food, the real nutrients are within. And this is also about understanding what is true abundance. Jupiter in 9th house in Sagittarius is about abundance. And the ruler Jupiter is in Cancer, so this is also about emotional abundance. And really working towards enriching our inner world, not only trying to, gain material richness and abundance, but really, really understanding what is worthy, what is priority, what is true abundance, what is real abundance. And, we can always grow more and learn more. It's a never-ending process, but we are evolving somewhere higher, let's say higher, even though in its essence there is no higher or lower. Everything just is as it is, and that's the whole philosophy. And it's so simple that we cannot really understand that level of simplicity, and we have to walk through so much complexity in order to understand simplicity and accept it and realize it. And everything changes all the time. Life changes all the time. We change all the time. Our identities change all the time. Our likes and dislikes are changing all the time. Our blood changes. Our bones are changing. Everything that we are built on is continuously changing, and yet there is still something that stays the same. And that's that essence within ourselves. And Sagittarius is a fire sign, and this is the flame. This flame stays the same, but this flame sometimes disappears, and it's our job to turn it on, to keep it lit on. And through our changes, this essence stays the same, and it witnesses all the changes without identifying with any of them. It knows that it's always there, witnessing all those changes, and it's eternal. And this is known in Eastern philosophy as Alinga Sharira. This is something that doesn't change. This is our core essence, and we carry it from life to life, from incarnation to incarnation, from dream to dream, because all our lives are dreams. And we are trying to wake up in those dreams. And this full moon will bring us a lot of aha moments and insights that seem like, now I see, now I understand, now I know. How could I not see it before? But there is right time for everything. We couldn't see it before. We had to walk through certain things that in order to for this picture to fully envelop for us. And we change, our beliefs change. It's really sad when we stay stuck in same beliefs, in same routines, in same habits for many years or even for a whole life. This is something that makes us like that turns us into a dead man, and we become zombies. Our actually our emotional attachments are actually zombies, because they have been experienced long time ago and they are gone, but we still hold on to them. We are still clinging on to them, and we bring them to life again and again, but they are not real. So we resurrect them. We want them to be there because we are not we haven't grown since then. So we keep zombifying our emotions and also our thoughts and also our way of living. So our life becomes zombified. And this is really time to kill those zombies and to remove the toxins and to start blooming, to see how life comes back into us, to see how blood starts rushing, to feel the adrenaline, to feel the adventure of being alive, because everything is an adventure. Every experience that we have is an adventure. Everything, even the most painful experiences, are adventures. And this is something that I know is not easy for majority of people to accept and to live in that way, but it's something that we can train. And if we manage to feel that life is adventure, at least for 1 second, it's a blessing. It's a blissful moment. And this full moon is really going to show us that life is adventure. And we are all facing some kind of loss, and there is no returning back to how things were. So what's done is done. What's done is done. So let's not zombify those things, Let's not try to resurrect them, to, breathe life into those things that are dead. What's done is done. This is time to look forward and to move forward, to keep moving with that flame constantly, continuously. And, we have to go through all the feelings, no matter how hard it might be. And we shouldn't calm them down. This is not really what is supposed to be done. We should actually haunt them when we feel that they are rising, when they are surfacing. We need to feel them. And, this is mutable energy. And we have this sun and the moon, they are squaring the nodes of the moon. The north node is in Pisces and the south node is in Virgo. So all of us who have some personal planets and important natal chart positions around the 20th degree of Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, or Pisces are going to feel this very strongly. And our beliefs will be challenged. Our perspectives will be challenged. Everything we know will be tested and challenged. And especially the way we think we are, the image that we have about ourselves will be tested. The knowledge that we have, education that we have, skills that we have, our way of perceiving service to others, our way of perceiving forgiveness, all these things will be tested and challenged in a big way. And in being mutable signs, we are able to change, to adapt, to move, and to mutate. We can mutate. And, these 2 weeks are really powerful times for deep reviews, for reflection, for revisions, for looking deeply into the truth of who we are. And, we are all spiritual beings. Matter is also spirit, it's not opposite to spirit. And it's very important to know that there is no competition on this journey. But we may see many spiritual guides who give themselves a lot of credit and power to lead others, and others who follow them blindly. Not only in spiritual realms, also in politics and religious circles, this is going to be very strong. And we are going to see in the next 12 years how these things are going to unfold and how this will affect us all individually. And there is not only law of matter, there is law of energy and law of time and law of space and law of earth and law of universe. And we have so many laws, and we have no idea how they function. We have no idea about those laws at all. And we were only led to believe that there is law of matter. So now we are unlocking this universal knowledge and universal language that shows us the laws of energy, time, and space too. And this is really about being able to forgive, because of this North Node in Pisces and the square with this full moon and the square with the Sun in Gemini. So the North Node is the place towards where we should be going, and the South Node is something that we should be leaving behind. South Node is in Virgo. So this is order, how we think that things should be order. It's analytical mind. It's over-intellectualizing, overthinking. It's our nervous system and our need to do everything right, to make everything perfect, to finish every single task, to do to take responsibility of everything, to be of service, to be perfect all the time. And this really kills our nervous system because we don't know how to rest. And Pisces is about contemplation, meditation, self-healing, resting, surrendering, trusting, transcending, being, while Virgo is doing. Pisces is being, and the North Node says to go where? To Pisces archetype, to being. If we can be in the being, then we can rest. We can reset and rest our nervous system. And when we reset our nervous system, we can unlock our connection with our higher selves, because this is where it resides, in our nervous system. But our nervous system is so stiff, and it's always in fear of being attacked. It's always like threatened. We are always somehow cautious. And when we can rest, when we can tap into the being, we can unlock this truth seeker and wisdom keeper within ourselves, and we can turn on this fire, this flame within us that is always there, that is a conscious witness of all our changes, of everything, of all our personalities, of all our multiple personalities. Gemini, Sagittarius, the wisdom keeper, the inner witness, the flame, who can see with their light the multiple personalities within ourselves of Gemini. They are looking at each other. And, Pisces is also about forgiveness and unity and oneness. Gemini is twins, duality stories. As I said many times, Romeo and Juliet, Castor and Pollux, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Abel and Cain, angel and devil, God and Satan, there are all these oppositions are there. And we are able to transcend some of those duality limitations now. But we need them. It's not that we need to remove these dualities. We need them in this realm. But we have to become aware of them, to become aware that there is much more and that there is a way out. The question is how far we can aim our arrow. Sagittarius is the archer. It has an arrow, and we are now shooting that arrow. Just as every time when we have new or full moon in Sagittarius or strong Sagittarius energies, we are given this arrow and the bow. And it's our task to shoot this arrow. But the question is, how far do we aim our arrow? Are we satisfied with superficial and trivial information, or do we dare to go further? Do we dare to dream of the impossible, to dream big? And this full moon is really stretching our perception. And we may be stretching our mind. We are feeling like we are stretching our mind and widening our perspective. It's far and wide, The prophet and the messenger, Sagittarius and Jupiter, the prophet, the prophecy, and Gemini, the messenger. And it's interesting that we have both rulers, the ruler of the full moon, Jupiter, and the ruler of Gemini, where the sun is, Mercury. They are both together in the sign of Cancer. So where is the solution? In emotional maturity, in emotional stability, in emotional security, in nurturing and nourishing our inner child and coming back to ourselves, coming back to our home. But what is home for us? Where do we feel safe? When do we feel like we are at home? And we are asked to create our inner state of being, to create our life as if we are always at home, to bring as many of these impressions into our life where we feel like we are being at home and where we feel emotionally secure, safe, stable, and mature. And, this is also the energy of the teacher and the student, and also the guru and the trickster. And we may feel like our mind is, playing with us, playing tricks. But it's our task, as I said, to go into that being, because then nothing can fool us. Our mind can't trick us because we are out of our mind in that moment. And we are able to feel ourselves from different perspective, from higher perspective. And this square between the nodes and the sun and the moon is really revealing the truth. And it's showing us something that we've been avoiding, something that we've been suppressing, something that we've been neglecting. And we've probably been neglecting our own emotional wants and needs. And those unfulfilled, our unfulfilled desires from the childhood are always rising. Sooner or later, every now and then, these desires and needs come up, and we are then emotionally confused and lost, and we don't know what we want. So we search for comfort in others. We search for comfort for someone to take care of us, for someone to understand us, for someone to tell us that everything is going to be okay and that we can do and be whatever we want. But this is something that we have to give to ourselves. We owe it to ourselves. And this full moon is really bringing these things to light. It's inner vision. It's time for inner vision. It's an envision. And definitely letting go of old beliefs. Sagittarius is light and fire. And, we are shining a light on what is true and what is not true. But as I said, let's not fall into those games and traps of fighting and struggling with others about whose true is truer. Because the truth is really shape-shifting. And this is something that we have to feel within ourselves, not to know it. The truth cannot be known. It can be experienced. It cannot be transferred. It can only be felt and experienced. I cannot transfer the truth to you. It's not possible. We can understand each other if you understand your truth and I understand my truth. Actually, not understand, feel, own, live. And this is what connects us when we are on the same wavelength, when we are on the same frequency. And many people from our life may start falling away because we may not feel like we are on the same frequency. We may not feel like we are on the same side, like we are not speaking the same language. And speaking the same language, I don't mean literal spoken words, but speaking the language of the heart. And we can expect some powerful information now that leads us towards transformation, because if information is not leading us towards transformation, then it's just a dead data. And this data doesn't mean a thing. But if we can use this data and do something about it, just like with knowledge, if we apply the knowledge, it becomes wisdom. If this information that we know leads us to transformation, then it also turns into a wisdom. And powerful information and real information has the power to heal you. And the information shapes our whole reality. Information is what is building this matrix and our whole realm. And powerful information can also feed us. So the question is, what kind of food do we take in? What kind of mental food and emotional food we give to ourselves? The point is to share the truth, to share the information if this information has purpose, if it's not just for the sake of sharing something. And it's important also to know that small talks, chit-chats, chattery is just taking our power away. So this is really time to go into that north node of Pisces and be with everything that we feel fearlessly. And this is, Sagittarius and Pisces, they are both ruled by Jupiter. And these are 9th and 12th houses. They are both related to spirit. They are both related to something bigger, to transpersonal, to expansion. And this is what we are being led to. But we are also faced with the collective shadow because of this. And many of us will struggle with the collective shadow, and we may confuse it with our own shadow. That's why it's also important to have that time with ourselves where we can rest, relax, be in nature, and just listen to the natural sounds, because their frequency has the power to rewrite our nervous system, to rewrite our stories without us doing anything special, just by surrendering to it and being aware that it's happening and giving it our power, giving it the power to heal us and to feed us the right food, the real nutrients, those that are real, not, synthetic, not artificial. We need real sounds, real connection, real fire within us, not the fire that we steal from others. We may be faced with the stealers of light, and these stealers of light will be exposed. But it's not the point to dismiss these stealers of light, but to also see them as teachers. They are teachers to all of us, to those that they are stealing light from. And those stealers of light will actually reveal the light that we have within ourselves. We may not be able to see it any other way. This is spiritual wisdom. And, we are embracing this collective shadow and collective nightmare and many of us will be waking up from this collective nightmare. But we are going to see how this collective nightmare is created and how we contribute to the creation of the collective nightmare. And, you know, we can receive this wisdom now from both lights, the sun and the moon, our father and mother, our two eyes, our two lights, gold and silver, honey and milk. And, you know, everything in our substantial world is a replica of something that already exists, but on a different level. This is, you know, the micro world and the macro world. And we are also the micro image of the universe. And also our organs are micro replicas of how things also work in nature. And when we look at the processes in nature, when we look at how the flowers grow, they are also micro replica of how everything else grows. This is the fractal universe, and we understand our fractal nature. And, you know, rather than removing bad energy, we need to transform it. We cannot remove it. It becomes transformed once we have understood why it's there in the first place. So instead of running away and escaping from what is bad, what is toxic, we need to transform it. This is where the true power lies. When we transform what is dark and toxic, then we reach that light and flame within us. Not when we run away from it, not when we deny it or neglect it or suppress it. And, you know, this is inner and outer balance, separating from what's comfortable and having the curious mind. This is, you know, awakening the inner samurai. You know, this is spiritual strength. And these are long-term values. And we are asked really to honor these changes and ability to change, to be willing to grow, to embark on this journey of knowing and owning ourselves. And we are releasing something very important. We are releasing a lot of emotional burdens. We are releasing the tension. We are letting go of the perspective that we have inherited, of the limited points of view. We are saying goodbye to those perspectives that keep us small, that keep us in that narrow-mindedness, that we cannot see outside of the box. And we are now definitely getting out of the box collectively. And as I always say, it's not about really thinking outside of the box, it's realizing that there is no box at all. This was an illusion. We have inherited false beliefs, and we've been living a life, you know, just copying what we see. And now it's time to create something true and original, something that cannot be repeated, something that cannot be copied, that can only be witnessed, and that can only inspire others to create their own light and flame and fire. So let's all give our best to really turn on this inner knowing, inner vision, and courage to transform everything that we don't like through acceptance, forgiveness, and through ability to rest and to be with ourselves in silence, to allow ourselves to get drowned in that noise so that we can resurface transformed. And sometimes we need to go into extremes in order to touch the other side. You know, because if we go into extreme at the bottom, we may, you know, pierce the bottom and come out on the other side. Because the entrance and the exit are the same points, just like death and birth are the same points. And here we are, running in circles, reaching the same spot over and over again, coming again, life after life. And it's really time for some awakening. I love you all and see you in 2 weeks. Bye bye.